Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today is actually going to be quite the occasion because we're going to be taking a look at the Noctua NH D15. This is the replacement for the legendary, and there is no other word for it, but legendary NH D14. I went through probably a couple of years with the NH D14, actually is like my go-to heatsink. And I've still got my original sample, which we're going to be using in this video today. So just to be clear, when I do show you the NH D14 and it looks a bit battered, I've had that since they were originally released for review. That is my, like the one Noctua sent me right at the very beginning. But we're going to be taking a look at this today. Now I'm going to stop the camera quickly because I want to talk to you about what's on the back of the box and some of the specs and stuff. But I'm sat behind the camera and I'm not very good at reading stuff upside down. Okay then, so you're about as far away as I can get you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and unbox it with you on the screen. Now I generally don't do like unboxings per se, but this is a pretty monumental product and they've gone to a lot of effort in making this look quite the occasion. Everything is pretty much, it fits perfectly. You can see at the top here we've got the accessories box. And if we pop it open the accessories box up, in there we have the low noise adapters, your screw for screwing everything down, your clips, your thermal compound. I actually still use this a lot. It's just a shame they don't do this in bigger tubes, and I have asked. But that's your accessories box. And then you've got an Intel and an AMD secure firm mounting box for each. These used to come in bags, so the fact that we've got they're in kind of more easily storable boxes and stuff, and you've got the guide for a 2011, you've got the guide for 1155, which I will be showing you shortly. Then we crack the rest of it open, take a level of polystyrene, and then you'll see we've got they've even got it marked up as the second fan, which is nice. It's all still wrapped in cardboard, and then we actually get down to the nitty gritty of the cooler itself. So just to be perfectly clear, this is the first time I've seen it. I've not opened this up at all, so we're going to be looking at this together for the very first time. And it's all typical Noctua packaging. It's so well done. If you're a bit of a packaging freak and you like things to be done properly, you will not be disappointed. And straight away, this is already making me think that although it's a very kind of similar type of design as in the twin tower, it does have like an air of quality to it already. So I'm just moving all the packaging and everything out of the way. I'm going to zoom you in a little bit because I've got my remote, and sadly I've set the remote to go really slow because before it was just literally, it was just ridiculous. It took like no time to go from one end of the zoom to the other. So what we've got the tower on its side. I need to come down a little bit. We've got the tower on the side. You can see the mount down here, and the black screen springs before used to mean 2011, so I'm assuming that they're just kind of universal now. But we've got nice smooth sides. The original, as I'll show you in a minute, I will put them side by side. They were slightly more open. We know that they've made this wider, but also what they've done is they've removed some of the fins on certain parts of it. This is meant to go on the back of your board, so when we get it in a minute, oh, it's the same on both sides. I do apologise. I didn't realise that. I thought one side was higher than the other. So it's not going to matter which way around you have it. Why they've cut these fins out, A, so that on the memory side you can get higher memory in single fan mode, and B, so you can get higher MOSFET heat sinks on the other side. So they really are trying to make this cooler a lot easier to be able to use long term, and compatible with more of your components as well, which is the most critical thing. Now if we get the second fan, I obviously do need to put the clips and everything in it so it can all fit in, but you can see that you do have that large section cut out there. Now that's so, as I'll show you on the motherboards in a bit, so that you can have your RAM sat there. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom you out. Yes, I know it takes a while, but it's better for it to take ages than it to be done in like a matter of seconds. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring the old girl in, and I do mean the old girl, God bless her, she's had a hard life, this one. So we bring the original D14 in so that we can see that with the original D14 all the sides here are open, whereas on the 15 you can see that they're closed, and I'm assuming that so that the air is kind of, it doesn't get the chance to come out the sides as much. We've obviously got these selection of fins cut out here to allow for better memory and MOSFET compatibility. With on these you didn't. As you can see, you got a 140 in the middle on the 14 and a 120 on the outside, whereas you've got two 140s on this one. What they've also done is, if we turn it round, right, so I've been and got my tape measure. We can see that this one, if I do it this way around so that you can see, this one is 150mm wide and the NH D14 is 140mm wide, so that's a bit fatter. That we do need to think about with heatsink. So in a bit, like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this onto a board so that we can have a look at the, how it impacts on the board. We're also going to look at memory compatibility. I've got a selection of memory here that we're going to have a look at. But essentially, to actually have a look at it, you'd think that there wouldn't be a lot of changes, but it's very, very small changes that they've done. They've made the heatsink wider, the heat pipes are further apart, so that there's more of an even dissipation of heat. We've obviously got 240mm fans rather than the 120 and the 140 now. The fan is actually different as well, because the old NH D14 one was just round, but you can see these have got the kind of like the square edges and stuff on them, and just the technology that goes into these fans is ridiculous. They've got all of the like vortex notches and stuff in the side. They've got these beveled edges, and it's all to try and make these fans literally as quiet as they possibly can be, even down to in the side of the fan there's little notches taken out of the side. If you have a look, and you can see, I'm not sure whether the camera's going to pick it up, but there are little like dimples in the side of the fan. It's really impressive, the lengths that they've gone to. It's kind of, the NH D14 was obviously great. It was a bit of a, a bit of a brute, and this is kind of like the massive, or not massively, but the refined version. They've spent a lot of time just working on all the little details. And we all know that the twin tower coolers themselves work because pretty much everyone else has copied the kind of design one way or another. But what I want to do is, we've obviously had a look at this now. We spent quite a few minutes just having a look at the quality of it. It does just feel so new and clean, and just, it's definitely got a much different feel to it than the original did. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to break the motherboard out now, get this sat on a board, and we'll take a look at that. Okay then peeps, so what we've got is we've got a normal 1150 motherboard. And by normal I mean it's the Gene, it's M80X, but it's not, it's not humongous. It's, it's just nothing particularly grabs you about it. But anyway, this is the 1150, 1155 and 1156 backplate. Before we would have to have like screwed all bits into this, but it's all it comes ready like that, and it's actually really solid as well. This is a properly rigid bit of kit, and pretty much all you have to do is just make sure that you have the little cutout there at the bottom, and you just poke it through your motherboard like that, and then you have your mount. And then pretty much the only difference between the 1150 or the the smaller Intel stuff and the 2011 is the 2011 you just screw the mount or the brace into what is the stock Intel backplate. With this one, you put your brace in the back, and that is pretty much it. You then stick the cooler on the top, screw it down, Bob's your mother's brother, it's done. Now the thing is with that backplate, they've actually made things a lot easier, and it's a lot more sturdy. And compared to some of the other mounts that are on the market, I've always regarded the Noctua mount as being the benchmark. As in, you judge all of the other ones by the Noctua just because it's quite, you know, it's the best. It's not overly complicated. It's really, really rigid. It's easy to fit, and it's also easy to work with, which is the reason why I used to change it so much. And I had the NH D14 as my test kit, and it was just. It was never difficult. Some of the other ones from the other brands can be a bit of a pain in the bum. Now, quite literally, that's it there fitted. Make sure that we have the fan blowing towards the back, because that's where we'd want it. And then you just, obviously I need to take the fan off and the plastic off, but you just then screw that in and that's it done. But what I'm going to do just quickly, I'm going to take the plastic off, I'm going to screw this down, and I will cut back in when we've got the cooler mounted to the motherboard, so that we can start looking at things like the memory compatibility, and things like PCI Express slot compatibility as well. Okay then peeps, so we have it fitted. Now first of all, I wanted to get it fitted so that we can just have a look around the board itself. It's pretty instantly obvious that it's a very dominating bit of kit. But when we swing it around this way, which is the reason why I wanted to do this, you can see that we have these large cutouts, and that is obviously, it's almost like mil perfect above the memory. Now what they say is in single fan mode, so obviously just the middle one, you can get up to 64mm high RAM in this side, and if you have it in twin fan mode, they say that you can have up to 34mm. Well, I think it's 32. Well, I'm going to show you this in a minute anyway. I'm going to show you with some small and large memory sticks, twin fan and dual fan mode. Obviously we've got the cutout on this side as well, so you wouldn't necessarily need to worry about high MOSFET heat sinks either. Some of the big overclocking boards and stuff, this area of the board can be quite large to try and keep everything cool, and so this actually does significantly help with that. If you did want to run your single fan mode per se, so you didn't want the memory on this side, you can technically get it set up right so that you can put the fan on the other side if you want. It's not going to be the best, but you will have a slight performance decrease unless you mount this fan to the second heatsink so that there's no gas gap, so the first heatsink, and have the other one on this side, and that's just so that you know that you're bringing air through both sides of it. So you'd mount the first fan in the middle but on this side, and then you'd have the second one on the outside of this one. So you can get around it, there are ways and means, but the main thing that I wanted to cover now is, so if we come around to this side and we kind of show you like that, it is encroaching quite a bit onto the PCI Express. And the best way I can show you this is I've got a graphics card here ready, and we're going to try and fit it in, and that's the graphics card lined up with the PCI Express, but you can see the impact that has had on the alignment of the graphics card. We couldn't get it fitted. Now this graphics card does have a back plate on it, but even without the back plate, you could squeeze it in, but the back of the graphics card would be touching up against the heatsink. So you'd have to be very careful there. Some motherboards, I've gone for the worst case scenario because I've purposely picked an M-ATX board because the PCI Express is right at the very top of the board. A lot of motherboards, and you only need to go and have a look, it's quite simple to be able to do it. Some of them will have like a PCI Express 1 at the top, and the first PCI Express 16 slot is one slot down, so it would be here. Now if your motherboard has the first PCI Express 16 one slot down, so away from the end of your I/O by one slot, then you'll be able to run this motherboard, this heatsink fine. If like this board, the PCI Express is right at the very top, so that the graphics card is going to sit directly below what will normally be your motherboard audio here, you're going to run into problems with the heatsink, because it does pretty much hang over this slot. It's only a slight little bit, but if we put it this way, what I can do is zoom you in a bit, and I'll do it on the camera this time so it's a bit quicker. But when you look at it, it's the end of the fan, and there's a little wire bit here, and this is pretty much you know, what's going to be stopping it. If you did want to like move the fan in or something, you're still going to run a risk of running this. So you're just going to have to be careful with your PCI Express alignment if you're going to be running this. So it's not going to be encroaching too much on the outsides, but on the bottom towards your graphics card you're going to have to be very careful, and that's because they've made it 10mm wider. It was a big old boy in the first place, but now it's a little bit more of a headache. What we're going to do now though is we're going to have a look at some memory. I've got lots of memory, but what we're going to do is we're going to focus on this first slot, and then whether we have to run single or dual fans. Okay then peeps, so single fan mode, and what we've actually got fitted in here now is Corsair Dominator Platinum. Now the old heatsink, we would have just been able to have got this second module in, but this first one would have been overhung and we wouldn't have been able to have got it in. And if I put it that way around, you can see it fits underneath there lovely. Now the Dominator Platinum is 56mm high. This can go up to 64mm high. You can actually see that I can get my fingers in above it. I have fitted this memory without removing the heatsink as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this quickly, just to show you that you can get it in and out. Don't forget I'm trying to do this while balancing it for you. It's probably not the best way, but there you go, you can see I've got it out. So that's Dominator Platinum. The Vengeance Pro is smaller, and we can still get that in as long as I get it the right way around. So you can see that I've got that in. Hang on, give it a little bit, there we go, like that. It's obviously quite difficult for me to try and do this on camera, but we've got the Dominator Pro in. Dominator Pro, Vengeance Pro. So we've got that in. You can see that there's loads of room underneath that, straight side on, but can we get the second fan on? And if we were to clip it in, it would sit up above the heatsink, quite an astronomical amount. So this would either have to run in single fan mode like that, or if we were to mess around with it all, we could obviously go down the route of putting a fan on the other side, but it would mean we'd have to fix this one to this side of the heatsink to kind of move it all over. So you could get it there if you really want to, but it's a lot of messing around. Single fan mode is the kind of easy way of going about it. Now what I'm going to do just quickly, I'm going to remove this. I'm liking the angle where we are at the moment, and then what I'm going to do is I've got, this is LP Vengeance, low profile, but it's just standard height. And what we're going to do, we're going to slide that in there. I can't actually see. So we've got that one in, get that one around the right way, we put that one in. So we've got that fitted, and then it does mean that we can get the second fan on. It does still sit up a little bit, but it's probably a lot less than the other one. You can see it's on there, and if I was to come down here, you can see we've got this. Pretty much the fan is going to sit on top of the RAM module, but most of it's over the main part of the heatsink, and it's all on there, lovely and easy, no dramas, dual fans, easy peasy. Now before we always used to there was like always a, you know, will it fit with this, will it fit with that? The days of will it fit, won't it fit is pretty much over, because they've made it really simple for you. Up to 32mm high, and you can still get everything working fine. You can see the fan is on the body of the cooler, nice and easy. We've actually still got a bit of fins and stuff at the top. You can go up to 64mm. If you don't want the fan on the RAM side, you can either run it in dual fan, or you can do as I suggested and start messing around with, you know, moving mounts and stuff, and you could have the fan on the other side if you wanted. I know a lot of people are now going to start going on about, oh, that means I could run 3 fans on it if I wanted. I really wouldn't worry. We've tested those type of things with the old one. It really doesn't make a lot of difference. So The thing to take away from this is the only real problem that we can foresee is that first PCI Express slot. So you do need to go careful with that. Something else to kind of consider, if we turn it around this way so that you can see, some boards will have a chipset here. So you may need to go careful with your chipset as well, because we've got the heat pipes and stuff. So you may need to kind of consider that type of thing. I know that's going to be making you feel seasick because you're going to be thinking you're upside down. But it was just the easiest way for me to show you. We'll go that way. So careful with your heat sinks, and the first PCI Express slot, you ideally want it one slot down. If you've got a board where the first PCI Express 16 is one slot down, you're not going to have any worries. If it's like this, for argument's sake, on this motherboard specifically, we'd have to run our graphics card in the lower one just to keep it away from this heatsink in the first place. If you're only running one graphics card, that's really not going to be a problem, and it's not, if anything, having a little bit of room there is going to be better, so that your graphics card's not going to be dumping heat into the heatsink itself. But obviously we're reviewing this, and we do need to kind of take these things into context or into account, and as part of our thought process in reviewing it. Now what I'm going to say now is we have done a lot of testing on this, and you can take a look at the main review for all the graphs and everything. But what I'm going to do is, so while you click on that, I'm going to move the camera, get myself ready, and I'm going to talk to you about some of the results. Okay then peeps, so I've not got the test rig here because the testing has actually been done by my colleague Gary. I got him to get all the testing done while I was away at iSeries. I'm only just now catching up to do all the videos and stuff. I've obviously done this, so click down on the link, you can go and see the graphs. Now we do a range of tests. We've got a 3960X, and we do a stock test undervolted at 1.1 volts. We do a 4.2 gigahertz test, a 4.4 gigahertz test, and a 4.6 gigahertz test. And generally the 4.6 gigahertz test is the greatest coolers that there is, and the original NH D14 just missed out on getting onto the 4.6 gigahertz graph. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the graph up on the screen now. Ding! There we go. And this the NH D15 has also only just missed out on it as well, to the point where we run OCCT, and it will fail if it goes above a certain temperature. We set that to 80 degrees, and we even remounted the cooler a couple of times because it was literally just one core each time, and it was just that little bit too warm, and it was causing the test to fail. But we gave it a couple of chances to be able to pass. We even did one of the test runs when it was slightly cooler in the evening rather than just during the day, and it still failed the test. So we think we did enough to try and take out any possible variables. So the graph that you can see in front of you is the test for the 4.4 gigahertz test at 1.35 volts. Now the fact that you've even got the NH D15 with the low noise adapter in there as well, so the fan speed reducer kind of speaks volumes. But at 12 volts it's pretty much near the top of the graph. The lower down the graph is the warmer, the further up the graph is as cool as it gets. So you can see that with the fan speed reducer in, it's kind of middle of the graph. But as we get up towards the top, it's actually done really, really well. It's kind of the 12 volt NH D15 is roughly about the same as a H80i. So you can see those results there. If you want to go and see the lower spec results, so the 4.2 gigahertz, 1.25 volts, and the stock result at 1.1 result, you can go and take a look on the website. So then, moving on to the conclusion. I know it's different that I've not built it up into a complete rig, but my test machine's still at iSeries. As I said, Gary's done all the testing for me, and you can go and see the full review and the write-up that he's done. Today we were just taking a look at the results that he got, and looking at the aesthetics and all that kind of stuff. And the award that we kind of decided to give it between us was the Performance Award. It is, as far as we're concerned, the best air cooling heatsink on the market today. And by that we mean it performs really well, but thanks to the time and the effort that Noctua have gone into with the fans as well, it's actually quite a quiet cooler as well, especially once you stick that low noise adapter in. But that's the type of thing that we've come to kind of expect from Noctua. The problem is nowadays is when the NH D14 first came out, it was just instantly the best cooler on the market. And back then, even I wasn't a fan of the all-in-one units from any of the brands. I had many arguments in the past about the fact that I thought the AIOs were just too noisy. Thing is though, as I said, technology has improved in leaps and bounds as well. In that, you know, if you go and have a look at the 4.6 gigahertz graphs that we've done in the old, it's just completely full of AIOs and water cooling kits. There's no, you know, none of the big air heat sinks in the graph at all. So it's kind of changing times. A lot of people are going to not necessarily like the Noctua color coding, but that's just, you know, part and parcel. Some people like it, some people don't. When it comes down to me personally, I think the Noctua fans are great in a white case. You can make them work. It's only if, you know, if you don't personally like it, it's going to be a, you know, a bit of a bugbear for you. Obviously it's a large lump of metal as well, so you need to take that into consideration when you're speccing the rest of your kit. If you want to get maximum performance from it, you're going to need to think about running not massive RAM, so kind of normal profile RAM, or messing around with the mounts, as I said to you before, about, you know, pretty much moving the fans over a bit. And then also another thing that you need to think about is, as you can see on this rig here, or on the Gene, is that PCI Express slot. And the PCI Express slot, for me, that's the thing that I don't particularly like about this. I think, you know, having a wider fin stack is brilliant, but having it coming down and encroaching into that PCI Express area is a bit of a, it's where it gets a bit difficult. So they've made the memory side of things so much easier in that it's pretty much a yes, or you can do this, and yes. Whereas before there was all the ifs, ands or buts about, oh, you know, will the NH D14 fit, won't it fit? Now the problem, rather than it being a memory problem, is a PCI Express problem. So you've obviously, that you do need to have a lot of material there to be able to dissipate that heat. You need a large heatsink. So rather than making it taller, they've made it wider, and I'm not necessarily sure whether I'm okay with that. I think I personally would have had it, you know, maybe 5mm shorter on this side to make sure that the PCI Express was clear, and just make the whole thing that little bit taller. And I think that's something, you know, that they've kind of missed out with, and that's one of the reasons really why we gave it the performance rather than the gold. For an air heat sink, it performs very, very well. It's cool, it's quiet, the mount's brilliant, and you can see that they've spent a lot of time trying to perfect the original NH D14. But with the PCI Express thing taken into account, and the fact that it's going to be around the £78 to £80 mark out the box, it does get to the point where a lot of the AIOs will perform better. You're not going to have problems with the memory because you've only got that small kind of socket to put in around just over your CPU. You're not going to have to worry about your PCI Express and your graphics cards. You just generally need to find somewhere that you can fit a 120mm fan or two. And you know, with the cases and everything that's kind of evolved recently, that's made things, you know, very, very simple for those AIO units. So to kind of, just for a recap, they have definitely improved on the awesome NH D14 design, but by fixing the memory problems, or at least making the memory so much easier, because we've obviously got that chunk cut out so you can run much higher memory if you want. They made it wider, which is then kind of encroached on the PCI Express side of things. Now, as I've said to you, that's not going to be every board. If your first 16 slot, which is the slot that you put your graphics card in, is one slot down from your where your audio would clip in, you're not going to have a problem. It's only going to be on the boards where the PCI Express is right at the very top, as high as it possibly can be. So with all that into consideration, it gets the performance award, based purely on the numbers that it's put out, because it does perform very well. You do need to think about the quality of the fans. I mean, those fans are like £15–20 each if you were to buy them individually. The mount is class leading. It's still epic. This is still the mount that, you know, that I will be judging all of the other air heat sinks by. And like I said, it can be cool, calm and collected as well. You just need to kind of weigh a lot of things up, because it is a big unit, and then because of that size, it does mean that it can make other areas slightly more, you know, need or require slight more thought. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to love you and leave you. This has been Tiny Tom Logan with the Noctua NH D15 review. Out.